Hi.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Doing good. Thank you very much for taking time to do this interview.
Oh, of course. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to be able to talk to you and be able to talk about some brand new music that's only a few weeks away now with the Biscuit Merchant.
Yeah, it seems it's crazy to think about because whenever I finish recording an album, my part of it is usually done before the end of the year. Like this one was done in December, and the process of getting it mixed and then mastered and then all the promotion and things like that, I'm kind of already three-quarters of the way through writing the next one. So Tempora is not exactly uh, it hasn't been at the forefront of my mind. So I actually listened to it again yesterday in preparation for this.
Well, I totally understand. And with all of the music that you've already written under this band, I can
Mm.
only imagine, like, as soon as you're done with something, I can imagine that you're already working on the next, like, album, two albums, three albums ahead.
Typically, yeah, a lot of times they will end up kind of being written almost at the same time. Like Tempora was kind of the first time that that had happened. Like I started writing the like the first verse of Kill Time and the main riff of Victorious were both written about maybe 3 months into the recording process for Visible Scars. Like they were close enough to where I was like, I could put these on Visible Scars, but I was like, no, this is different. Like this feels like it's gonna need something else, and I feel like I can build more around this. Like Visible Scars was all about just aggression, and the stuff that I was writing was a little bit too nuanced. So I was like, okay, we're gonna leave this for later.
So, yeah, I mean, before we even get into Tempora, like,
Mm.
I, I'm just, I'm so amazed at the body of work that you already have and the ambitious idea behind the Biscuit Merchant. Like, for anyone that's not familiar with what your overall goal with this band is, like, please let people know what this is all about because it's so intriguing to me.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate the kind words as well. That's great. So yeah, basically the Biscuit Merchant started when I was about 17. I really needed an outlet. I'd been playing guitar for about 3 years, and I was really into Metallica and Megadeth and all the thrash stuff. Like that was my drug of choice back then. And I had gotten to the point where I was just writing riffs nonstop. Like I could not stop writing riffs. So I needed to put them somewhere. So I had downloaded FL Studio, although back then it was just called Fruity Loops, and put a bunch of drum and bass tracks together to go along with the riffs. And then I kind of just arranged them into songs, but they didn't have vocals. They didn't have any good recording quality either. It was awful. That stuff have tried to wipe it from the internet. It might still be out there, but I've done I've done the best I can to get it out of there. But I did that 6 times. I did 6 albums, but they're basically glorified demo tapes, and just put them out for my friends and people that wanted to hear how I was progressing in my guitar playing, and then ended up taking a lot of time off for college and other things. And then I decided when I had played in a band while I was in college that was more focused on ska and punk, and I had gotten more interested in the side of songwriting involving vocals and lyrics and you know, instead of just being a riff buffet, like, hey, what about a chord progression now and then? Maybe you could sing something too. And by that point, I mean, I had gotten into death metal and grindcore and all of the progressive metal as well, like all of these more extreme styles of music. And I kind of felt like I was like, all right, well, I proved that I can at least write good riffs. So let's try to just do the whole thing, like all on my own. Part of the problem was I couldn't find other musicians that wanted to play stuff like that. So I was like, all right, so clearly I need to just take my own path here and do this my way. So I started recording again in 2016, and I put out the album Knuckle Walker in 2017. And I had done a couple of more. Now, granted, the overall project that we were kind of alluding to earlier is called, I've been calling it Alpha, which the idea is I'm doing 26 albums, one for each letter of the alphabet, and when they're done, you could listen to them from A to Z, and they'll kind of flow into each other. Like the last song on the letter U album flows into the first song of the letter V album, and so on. It's going to be one big, gigantic, continuous thing. And I actually had that idea while I was doing the riff tapes. I had done an album called The Grand Design, and then I had done an album called Harvest the Wind, and those flowed into each other as well. So I had already kind of thought about that. But when I started recording for Knuckle Walker, I decided to start over because the riff tapes are not a cohesive part of the canon, so to speak. And yeah, I've been doing it ever since. Tempora is number 10 in the process so far. So it's been a lot of work, but it's been super rewarding, and I'm gonna see it through no matter what.
So when you're working going from album to album, like how do you know like what letter you want to be working on? Is it just
Mhm.
like you come up with these ideas and you know that it's going to be like going into the next one, or do you just like come up with these ideas and you feel like it might work in a different part, or how does this all come together?
Yeah, so that's a really good question because it does influence the writing process a lot. Like when you think of uh, authors and artists of in any style, a lot of times, you know, they say they suffer with writer's block because they just don't know where to start, right? But with this kind of self-imposed limitation, I can only think of one or two times in this whole process that I didn't know exactly what letter I was going to work on next. Like I had decided what the letter after tempora was going to be. That was determined. I need to start writing these things down, but that was in like November of this last year. I had decided what next year's letter was going to be. Um, and a lot of times that will influence the process. Or like one time with phobia. Phobia was an interesting situation because I had come up with this outrageously brutal riff that was in drop D tuning on the guitar. And the final song on Ongaku, the album that comes before that, was ending on a song that was in D standard. So it's like the same key, right? But that was also a very brutal, thrashy song. So I had kind of wrote this riff and I was like, ooh, like this is really cool. And it kind of sounds like Reach for the Sky from Ongaku. And then like the gears start turning and you're like, okay, so this is going to be the P album. So then you start thinking like, all right, what am I feeling right now? Like what starts with P, right? Like there's this whole weird, it's almost like an English project in a way, like the alphabetical nature of it, but it all kind of flows from there. And then, sooner or later you, uh, like as the songs keep being constructed, then they start to kind of have this identity of like, it's like, ooh, all of this is really intensive. So like phobia, right? So like starts with a P and it also fits the style of the music that's being written for that record.
So with all that in mind, like do you already have an idea of how it's all going to start when you listen to it from the beginning and how it's going to work at the end, or is that something that you're going to be working towards?
Yeah, so a little bit. I know a lot more about the Z album than I do about the A album because honestly, I had thought that the A album was set for a while. One of the records that I did back when I did the riff tape idea was called Alternate Universe, and that was going to be letter A. So I kind of thought that it was done, but then I had decided a little bit later, it's like, no, like these things don't have any vocals. There's no like, and they don't represent where I'm at now either. Like I don't feel like they're a part of the project that I'm currently embarking on. But I've been writing things for the last, I'd say at least 12 or 13 years that if I come up with something that feels suitably epic, because like that's the big challenge, right? Like I'm putting 26 albums together. That last one's got to be good. It's got to be this big bombastic epic thing. So I've known how the whole thing is going to end for quite a while. Like the last couple of minutes of the Z record, I've had that planned out for a while, and it's evolved a little bit. But overall, I've known what that's going to be like for the better part of about a decade, which is crazy to think about.
Oh, absolutely. And everything that I've heard so far, like being able to check out all of the work that you have so far, the official work that you have out so far, it's just like it's astounding to see like the progress that you've made, like all the different styles. Like, obviously there's like a core sound to all of it, but it's just like the dynamics that happen throughout, the genre bending that happens throughout it. Just knowing that you're doing everything that's a part of this, it's just like it's absolutely incredible to see the work that you do.
No, I really appreciate that. I do put a lot of time and effort into it, and it's been, such a core part of my life that, I don't like I would continue doing it regardless of who was listening or paying attention, but it is really cool to know that it is getting out there and people are, starting to find it more and more. Like we grow a little bit with every record, and it's cool, I think, for people that are getting on. Like there's never a bad time to get on board, right? But the earlier you get on board, the more you can watch this evolution as it's going. It's almost like I heard somebody compare it at a show the other day of it's like, well, it's kind of like having a TV show that you really like that is going to go on for like these next 14 seasons or 16 seasons technically, right? So like I've really enjoyed meeting and talking to people who are like really excited to see the end, and they're not they're not put off at all by the fact that it's going to be 16 more years. But
So is that saying that Z will be the last album that you make under
yeah,
this?
I'm comfortable revealing that. I mean, that's pretty obvious. Like, I mean, that I had decided that really early on, and yeah, that's the one that makes the most sense. I haven't fully decided where I want A to be yet. I've thought about having A be the second to last, and then I've thought about not having that be the case, but we'll see.
Oh, it's still really cool. I mean, regardless of all of it, again, it's just like the variety in the music that happens. I mean, just from
Mm.
Tempora alone, hearing the variety of music that's going on there, and then let alone knowing that there's 25 other albums that's going to be going along with that. I mean, it's just I really do appreciate the fact that you just have such a wide range of music that you love to listen to, that you love to play, that you love to write. And, again, it's just like going from like starting off with like more thrash roots and then being in a ska band and then discovering more extreme metal from that. It's like that's not the first time I've heard of people going down that route, but I love that's the route that you took along with that too, because it's just like to get to the more extreme end of things, like you have to get there somewhere, and knowing the roots that you got to get there to go into that now, and then being able to have all this musical palette to be able to come up with all these different ideas, it's so cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I appreciate that greatly. It's very important to me to create um, music that isn't super like limited in terms of its genre, because you think about it like, okay, I'm going to release 26 albums, right? They're usually about they're like 45 to 50 minutes per. Some of them go a little bit longer, but still, you're looking at about probably 20 hours of music straight through, when it's all finished, at least 20 hours, right? And I personally really enjoy artists like Devin Townsend and like the Faith No Mores and the Dream Theaters of the world, where like maybe they have their own overarching style, but it does change and they grow. Dream Theater has done songs that sound like U2, and they've done songs that are as heavy as anything that any death metal band has put out. It's great stuff, and I really want someone to be able to listen through to these 20 hours this 20 hours of music. I don't expect anyone to do it in one go, but if anyone does, hey, more power to you. But if someone does really want to listen to it all in a row, the least I can do is make sure that they're not bored with 20 straight hours of thrash riffs or 20 straight hours of death growls. I want there to be dynamics and push and pull. It's like watching a 4-hour action movie. It's like, all right, eventually the the guns and the violence get a little bit tiring. We need some character development here. You know what I mean?
Oh, definitely. Although my mind was like going through here, like, when you eventually get to that point, like if there's a way to like like I think it'd be like really cool to do like a live stream where you do go from
Hmm.
like A to Z and then, have like I don't know if it'd be like a fundraiser or just like people wanting to listen to it or whatever the case is. I think like once that actually happens, I think that'd be a really cool endeavor to explore.
Yeah, I have thought of that because I've seen, the especially in the gaming universe, a 24-hour Twitch stream is not unheard of. Like people do that for charity for like Extra Life and things like that all the time, and that's really cool. And I have thought about doing that, and I think it would be cool to have even just to listen to it all through myself because I do enjoy listening to my own music because it really comes from me and my own brain, right? I don't make music that I don't enjoy. Like I don't do that. I'm not enslaved by a band or a record label or anything like that. So I don't have anybody pushing me saying, "Oh, you got to write like this." And so I'm always able to write things that I'm truly proud of, and I am absolutely going to listen to all of it in a row when it's done. I mean, 26 years of work, I've earned it. So, yeah, I do think a live stream would be a lot of fun though.
Oh, definitely. So, like going back to all this, and you did mention in the beginning, like you even yesterday listened back to Tempora to
Hmm.
get to just listen to it again and prepare for the interview, of course, to
Yeah.
be able to talk about it again. Like, what was that like for you? Like, after leaving Tempora behind, obviously with the album coming out in a few weeks from today on June 13th,
Right.
what is it like for you to be able to go back and listen to Tempora in its entirety?
It's really cool because every time we're working on an album, and I have to shout out my mix and mastering engineers because they do incredible work and they get uncredited a lot of times because their names don't show up on Spotify. So my mix engineer, his name is Spencer Maxfield. He's incredible. And my mastering engineer, Nelson Gast, also phenomenal. They've done great work. They've worked on everything since Unexplained Wounds. That was the first time that I worked with them, and they've helped me out with everything ever since. And yeah, it's when we're working on it, I'm listening to everything so much that it starts to become a job in a way. Like I'm listening to this song that I really love and that I really believe in, but it's hard to enjoy it because I'm listening for how the snare drum is balanced with the palm mute chug, you know? So I'm not really listening very much to the performances even because those are done. I did those before. So it's a lot of really minute detail obsessed work. So there's this feeling of unbelievable relief that washes over me once not only once it's mixed and mastered, but once it's like officially submitted and I've started sending it out to, the awesome people in the metal press like yourself. It's, I'm just like, it's done. We're good. I can actually listen to this now. Like, I'm not overanalyzing every single little detail of it. I can just sit with it and be like, all right, how does this actually flow as a work and as a part of this greater project? And I really enjoy it every time. I haven't yet had the job process like ruin the record for me. Like I'm always able to pull up whichever one. Like I had the random urge to listen to Memento Mori the other day, so I did. And it's really cool because doing these albums like once a year, like they almost come out like a diary. Like in a way, like yes, there's the alphabetical flow, but if you're really attentive and you pick through the lyrics, I'm not necessarily recommending that anybody do this, but if you do that, you can really see the ebbs and flows of my mental health over the past like 5 or 6 years. It's really quite fascinating because like I'll listen back to these songs, and this goes for Tempora too, because all of this stuff was written as of like September of last year. So like in my mind, it's almost a year old already, right? And it's very interesting to see like Tempora has a very like apocalyptic vibe to it in the music and also the lyrics. And I I laughed a lot listening to the section of the title track where it almost turns into like a soft shoe Broadway number, right? And um, thinking like I remember exactly how I was feeling that day, like that I wrote that section of the song and how automatic those lyrics were like when they came to me like I was a little down in that moment thinking about how hey everything is worthless, everything is meaningless, the world would be better if we all just exploded. um and then being able to find a way to weave it into the story was like a really, not only was it great because it allowed me to get some work done and create something really truly unique as part of this record. I'm very proud of that section, even though I think most people will listen to it and think it's profoundly bizarre, and that's totally cool. I have no problems with that. Um, but it was also an interesting way of coping, because I've been kind of um, just taken hostage by a lot of negative thoughts over the years, and I am so fortunate that I'm able to process them like through this music. And now I was feeling so terrible when I had written that section of the song, but now when I listen back to it, I laugh at it because it was like, oh wow, look at that, and look what it turned into. It turned into something positive.
So what I'm getting from this is if you start doing some funeral doom, should I be concerned about your mental health or should I know that you're doing okay?
um I'm always okay. I don't ever want anybody to be uh concerned about how I'm doing. I have a very good support system, and I'm very careful about making sure that my mental health is all right. And honestly, I think as long as I'm still putting out records, you don't have to worry about me. I'm okay.
Well, I'm very glad to hear that too. And of course, it's just like through musical expression, whether you're using it metaphorically, whether you're doing it rhetorically, whether you're just talking about your real personal life. I mean, there's so many different avenues that you can write music and write lyrics for. And when you
Mhm.
do have that outlet to be able to do that, and however way that you do it, it's such a cathartic feeling to be able to pull that off. And especially when other people can relate to it as well too, whether it's happy, sad, emotional, whatever the case is, when you're able to connect with people that way, just from a lyrical standpoint alone, that's got to be such a rewarding feeling.
It is really cool, and I mean, I'm always the most flattered by anybody who chooses to say anything nice about me and my work is a god among humans, right? I love all of the people that have said nice things about my music equally, but I do I do gain a particular satisfaction from people that have listened to my work and said like, hey, like this really helped me when I was feeling this way, or like, I do, there are a few songs in my, in my output that aren't super depressing, like they're a little bit more uplifting. And like I've had people say like, oh, I listened to one of your songs, when I was like driving and it was sunny and I had the windows down and I was just jamming to it, and it elevated my day too. Like, I mean, that's the coolest thing ever to me, because that's how I resonated with music when I was growing up too. Like I was just the other day, every time I listen to Ocean Machine by Devin Townsend, that is an album that immediately transports me to like a very scary place, but in a good way. Like I don't know exactly how to describe it, but I always come away from it feeling very refreshed and like kind of mentally centered, right? And it takes me back to the first time I heard, well, I had listened to that album a couple of times, but the first time I really listened to it, like sometimes albums like that are a little dense, you need to give it a couple of rounds. And I was listening to it on a really dark night and like having an absolute existential crisis in the back of mom's minivan, like when I was 16, and like that was the way that record made me feel. Like if I can help anyone in any way deal with whatever it is that they're going through with the music that I've created, then that's an incredible gift, honestly.
No, I couldn't agree more. So, with that in mind, favorite song off of Ocean Machine?
Oh man. Oh, I can't. I have to pick one. I can't pick all 13.
Well, I mean, that would be the easy way out of it.
I know, right? Yeah. I
Devin's one of my favorite musicians of all time. Like his
oh
former
yeah.
drummer Ryan Van Peeteroyen is a very,
Mm.
very good friend of mine. Like I've known him since the Syncestra days. So
Oh, that's so cool.
yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, Ocean Machine, I was fortunate enough to see him on his tour the other day, and he busted out Bastard on this tour, and I really do have a particular affinity for that song. I really like the it's almost like a three-headed beast because they kind of all flow into each other, but like the funeral bastard death of music
Mhm.
thing, like if I can get away with that, that's what I would pick because that's the sequence of music that really, takes me away to a different place. But if I have to pick one, it's probably going to be Bastard because of the riff and that scream halfway
Yes.
through.
Bastard is arguably my favorite guitar riff of all time.
It's so good and it's so simple.
Simple.
Like
Yeah.
every time I listen to that, I'm like, oh, like I'm writing all of this complex stuff, and it's like, look, sometimes you gotta just back off, like just let it go.
Oh, so cool. So I couldn't help but notice, obviously with where you're recording this right now, it's just like I can't help but notice like all the equipment that you have behind you and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
Obviously, I mean, when you're working so hard to be able to come up with like at least an album a year, if not more than that, like how do you know when to focus on guitar or bass or drums or uh, keys or anything else that you incorporate? Like, what is that like for you to go from instrument to instruments and be able to work on that?
Yeah, for the most part, I let it happen as it like presents itself to me. So guitar is obviously the forefront of what I do. Like that's where the songs are developed is first on the guitar, and more as I age and grow as a musician, like I start to think more about, like maybe what's the bass going to do here? What are the drums going to do? What's the vocal line going to be? I've started to do that more in the beginning phases, but it's all about being natural. It's very hard to force those things, especially vocals and lyrics. If I don't have a clear idea for that going in, that can be really really difficult. But other than that, the general process is I'll have the song structure done on the guitar. I'll take it into Reaper and put like a bed track together, like a click situation. Like if it's got tempo changes, more and more of my stuff has been having tempo changes lately because I like making more work for myself apparently. Um, and then once that's all done, I'll do a very very rough like drum playthrough just to be like what is this asking for? Like what are these riffs asking for as far as drums? Like what's going to help accent it, or does it need to be like something different? Does it need to be more in the back and more of a supportive role? It doesn't need to be like blast beats the entire time, right? And then I'll go through and do a raw bass track, and then I'll just kind of sit with that for a while. Like I'll listen to it and be like, okay, what's working here, what's not, and then you just do more takes of it until it's done. And then vocals are always last. Like I don't even mess with doing vocal lines or recording vocal lines at least. I'll jot lyric ideas down if they come, but I won't do any vocal tracks until the song structure is done and until it's got at least rhythm guitar, bass, and drums, because that's the part that's always made sense to me. Like I just don't want to do vocals unless I know something is ready for vocals, so to speak.
Yeah, and I can imagine a lot with that. Like sometimes like songs just work immediately. Like you have this idea
Hmm.
and then they completely flesh through. And then other
Yep.
times it's a real process, especially the arrangement. Sometimes the main riff will change, everything that goes like that. Like how do you deal with those processes? Like when it does take a little bit longer to work on a song?
Yeah, well, and I mean, I try to not let it get there. Like if there's a song that I'm kind of fighting with, like when I'm doing the riffing process, like I'll just leave it alone because I know I'm gonna do another record next year. So like if this one's gonna take time to show itself, take your time. Fine, I'll catch up with you later. I want to work on the things that are providing me fruit, at the moment. But that is to say, like there are definitely times, especially with lyric writing, that it does feel like you kind of have to like get you have to push through the wall, so to speak. And a lot of times in that situation, I find that I need to just do something. Like especially with lyric writing, it's very important to me to sit down and just kind of like just word vomit like all over the document and get something out that seems okay because it's not like I'm recording it and putting it on Spotify tomorrow, right? So like put something out there and if you wake up tomorrow and you hate it, okay, at least you tried. Right? But that almost never happens. Usually what happens is I'll be like, okay, I like the idea of this line. Let's do it this way. Let's make it fit somewhere else. Let's, have that happen instead. So it's pretty infrequent, but that would be like my advice to anyone who's struggling with writer's block is just do something. Like it doesn't have to be the final draft. Just get something out there.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And, whatever instrument that you choose to play on, and sometimes you just need to switch to a different instrument for a day if you are
Hmm.
playing different instruments. Sometimes it's just doing something completely unrelated, just like trying to learn a new technique or learning a new style of drum patterns or whatever the case is. It's just like always constantly try to do something, even if it's not towards the goal that you're looking for, it can work towards that goal that you're looking for.
Oh, totally. And if I'm ever again like it really doesn't happen that frequently, but if I'm finding myself like creatively bankrupt, especially on guitar or something like that, like if I'm having a day where I can't write a riff, like there's like some cosmic stuff going on. Like that's a surprising issue. But if I ever do have that type of issue, then the quickest way out of it for me is to just learn a new Dream Theater song. Like just pick it, and I don't even have to learn the whole thing. It's like just play through a riff the way John Petrucci plays through a riff, and it will awaken your creativity. Because that dude does things that he thinks of that instrument in a very different way than most of like the riff guys, right? Like if you go and learn a Metallica riff and then an Exodus riff and then an Anthrax riff, like they're all great, and I love all three of those bands and all of their guitar players and songwriters, but they're all cut from very similar cloths. Like they each have their own style for sure, but you basically know what you're getting. But I don't know what it is. The way that John Petrucci writes, the way that he's got he'll do single note riffs combined with power chords, and he'll experiment with more complicated intervals and things like that too. It's just, and maybe it's just me. I don't know if I'm the only person that feels that way, but if I ever play through one of his riffs, it's like instant creativity fuel. Like it opens my mind's eye and I'm like, I know what to do now. Thank you, John.
So, with that said, favorite Dream Theater song?
Oh, oh man. Okay. See, I did all this prep on Tempora. I didn't I didn't do the Devin Townsend and the Dream Theater prep. Um okay. I'm going to go favorite overall is probably Octavarium. Um and I'm a huge believer in the new record. I'm really happy with how it came out, and I'm going to give a special shout out to Dead Asleep of all things because of the riffs. I'm still coming around on the vocals and the lyrics. They're a little bit like systematic chaosy, and they're like, oh, this is kind of silly, but the riff is so good that I have to I have to give it to him. It's still great.
Oh, very, very nice. Yeah, I love Octavarium as well. A Change of Seasons is always going to be my favorite.
Yeah, that's
And,
a great one too.
I'm not sure if you can entirely see it on screen, but right there, I have Mike Portnoy's snare, his
Oh, I
12-inch
see.
Melody
Yeah.
Master. He signed
Oh,
it on the inside back in 2008 when
oh,
he did a meet and greet. So, yeah, right before I saw the Progressive Nation 2008 tour, it was Dream Theater, Opeth, Between the Buried and Me and Three, which was an incredible show. And he did a meet and greet before that, so I got that signed. It
man,
was a pretty cool night.
that's got to be like top five overall. Like not just concerts. Like that's got to be a top five day like of life. Like I can't think of too much better than that. That's incredibly cool.
Yeah, that was a really cool day. But
Yeah.
yeah, we probably should talk a little more about Tempora as well too.
Oh, sure.
Obviously to promote the album and stuff like that. But there's so much to love musically
Mhm.
about this album as well too. But I also love visually what's going on with the album cover. Like I think
Mhm.
it totally fits the music. Like how did that come together?
Yeah, so I work with a guy on Fiverr. So his name on there is Lone Scarecrow, and he does like digital Photoshop art, not AI. No AI.
Good.
No, never. It's not happening. I had people say the last album was AI, and it's like, dude, it's literally not. It's not. It's like, how are you supposed to prove that in this day and age? It's ridiculous. People can just say whatever they want.
Hmm.
Um, but anyway, so what I did was, and this was in the early stages of getting the album done. So like all of the recording was done, but the mixes really weren't. Like I had the first three songs in what I would deem to be like acceptable for human consumption. So like they weren't done, but like I could show this to a collaborator for an idea, of what it's going to sound like. And but I told him the full story of the album, and I told him just very basically like the album covers that I see like in my head with this, and I've become kind of enamored with the idea of having like humanistic things on my album cover. So like Phobia, Invisible Scars, and now Tempora all have like some kind of humanistic figure like on the front of it. And that was pretty much all I gave him. And I told him I wanted it to look like space, and I wanted it to be blue and purple. and he comes up with this. Like, and he sends this over, and we're on like vastly different time zones. I think he's either in Indonesia or somewhere very far away. So I wake up one morning, and the first thing I see, after like when I roll over and check my phone, I'm like, oh, I got a message from my artist, and then I open this up, and I'm just like, how like how did you nail it that hard? Like on the first try, we made like 2 edits. Like I think there was something in a corner that was like a little bit too much in focus, and I wanted it to be a slightly different color. Like I think that was like all we did. Like the overall concept and everything, that was a first take situation, which was insane. He's amazing.
Oh, that's so incredible to hear. And yeah, I mean, it's so great that you are able to work with these people that want to work towards the vision that you're looking for. I mean, sometimes you find them on Fiverr, sometimes it's just
Hmm.
people that you know, but the fact that you got like people who know what they're doing on the production side to make sure the mixing and the mastering is the way that you want it to be, the visually everything that you want it to be, and then the fact that you take on so much under this moniker as well too is just absolutely astounding. And just with all this time, and I see that Zoom is gonna be cutting out on me in 2 minutes, so it feels like I barely scratched the surface on everything that could be touched on here. But it's just like I'm so astounded by the work that you do, and I think for anyone that might be checking you out for the first time, I think Tempora is like a great album to check out first because it shows off so many different sides of what you can do. I mean, there's so many great heavy moments. You got the growls in there, you got some amazing cleans on there, some instrumental work going on there, like the everything that you're doing from the arrangement to the soloing to all the influences that you can hear, but still having your own original sound behind it. And this is just one album out of 26. It's just absolutely incredible. And it's just been absolutely awesome to be able to talk to you about all of this and just going like a free flow like this. Sometimes we'll talk about Devin Townsend and Dream Theater. Sometimes we'll go into the aspects of mental health. Sometimes we'll
Yeah.
just talk about all of this. It's been such an absolutely great time being able to talk to you about all of this.
Oh, I appreciate it. And yeah, likewise. I mean, one of the reasons I was so excited for this interview is because you really go deeper than the typical you're the first person I've talked to on this whole album cycle that hasn't asked me about my name. Thank you for that. I really appreciate
I
that.
read the Q&A. I understand.
Thank you. You'd be surprised how many people don't. um,
But
but
no, it's just like I've never been the kind of person to just like do surface level stuff. Like that
yeah,
stuff does not interest me. I don't care about dirty laundry. I don't care about the clickbait and the rage bait that can happen. It's just like I want to promote good people making good music. That's
yeah,
been my whole moniker for almost 14 years now, almost 950 interviews. Like
yeah.
that's why I've been doing what I do. And I want to support you because I can tell that you are a good person making great music.
Yeah, I really appreciate that, and I really thank you for taking the time to, talk to little old me. It means a lot coming from someone who's talked to Portnoy and Mangini and Isan. It really means a lot.
Oh, absolutely. I'm glad to do it. And yeah, I see Zoom has less than a minute, so this will
Yeah.
cut out at any second now without warning. But I just want to thank you again for taking the time to do
Yeah.
this. I should even have this interview up within the next hour or two, if as long as
Great.
there's no major edits to do or anything. And
Perfect.
yeah, for anyone still listening, Tempora, June 13th, The Biscuit Merchant, go check this out.
Thank you. Thank you so much.